Commission has gone ahead and adopted open access rules for the C block in the latest 700 megahertz auction, just kind of, as they've said, it would be an experiment to see how this goes. In addition, Verizon and AT&T have both come out with their own open access or open development initiative to provide the technical specs for their network and to open up to any devices or any applications that make those published, that fit with those published technical specs. And I wanted to get the panel's reaction to these developments. Is this addressing some of the concerns that perhaps Brian raised, that the market is addressing it this way, or do you think that that's gone far enough? Wanted to get the panel's reaction. Gigi?
Look, I'm excited about the openness announcements, but they are just announcements. And with all due respect to my colleague to my right, I'm still concerned that your definition of openness and the FCC's definition of openness, which I think they made quite clear in the C block decision, may not be the same thing. So I'll tell you the two things that I'm concerned about in your definition of openness. And you can tell me that I'm absolutely wrong and you're not going to do this, and you can swear in front of all these people. Number one is that Verizon is not going to discriminate against third-party devices in the price, terms, and conditions of using the network. So my understanding is Verizon devices, get to use the Verizon network, and everybody else with a third-party device goes to MVNOs. All right, and I'm concerned that the folks on the MVNO network are not going to be treated similarly to the folks that are sort of in the favored Verizon network. So that's number one. Number two is, after the C block decision came out, you guys sent a letter to the FCC asking essentially for clarification that you can, lock your devices, or not, excuse me, you can basically determine whatever applications you want on your Verizon devices. So in other words, if there's a certain application that Verizon doesn't want on this device, it should be able to sell that to a customer. And my understanding and my reading of the FCC rules is that's prohibited, that a licensee cannot lock or block any applications on its devices. So you can tell me that you're not going to do that, but that's my concern, that your definition of openness is a lot narrower than mine and the FCC's.
Gigi keeps telling me these things, and I just don't know. We're in the midst of an initiative where all the folks are in the room. Gigi's invited, everybody's invited to come on in. Let's see how this thing works through. We're going to abide by the rules of the road. We have the spectrum. It's another case, in my view, where there's an anticipatory breach of something. It's just in the development stage. So again, this is a confidence issue, and one we're working hard on. Come on in. We've had, I think, like 2 or 3 of these forums where folks have come in. We ourselves have held stakeholder forums to come on in and take a hard look at all this. We got to build confidence, and then we're going to see what people are going to build with these applications. I think it's going to be amazing. We have all kinds of folks in that go from gaming and kind of newfangled applications all the way to environmental kinds of issues about monitoring thermostats, all the way to our disability community, thinking about how to use these new applications on an open network. I'm very excited about it. And as we move forward, if there's issues, I think we're going to address them.
Well, I didn't hear a commitment anywhere, but.
Well, I think. I don't know. Let me just answer that, because I always think it's a little off. I'm not running the business, if you know it. I know that we're going to abide by the law. I know that we're moving ahead. And I think that this is a question of watching this closely and seeing how it works, and I think it's going to be a brave new world.
Okay, Ben.
I actually think that the C block conditions are an interesting corollary to the net neutrality debate, in that, I'll pose this rhetorical question. Does anyone think that we would be having carriers competing with one another in the press to out-open one another if we didn't have the openness condition on the C block? If we didn't have the debate that led up to that, if we didn't have consumers and policymakers coming to the consensus that having a device that's open and having any application run on it is probably a good thing. there's no way we're headed down that road without that debate and without that baseline principle being put in law. So, you know, the same is going to be true across the board for these principles. You know, we can see how it's developing, and it's, I think, an important precedent and an important way to understand, you know, what's popular amongst consumers, what's the right path to be taking with respect to FCC rules, and where we're headed in the future.